Hi, good afternoon. So today we are doing more stages. So this morning I actually started making the Demon Palace, which I'm fairly happy with. I quite like these stained glass walls. They're nothing, windows, they're nothing special, but they're a bit of fun. We go with the demon color. I created this like triangle floor texture, which I think has this fun way of kind of leaning into the fact that we're telling you to go up. And I think that little subtle line of light kind of telling you which way is up. I don't know. I feel like it works. So we've got our chunks, and yeah, I mean I can't. We'll just do the perspective camera so you can sort of see how we move across. We've got stained glass windows that are just coloured to each element, because one of the things about the demons being kind of chaos creatures is that they use all three elements. So I think that's quite fun. So yeah, nothing too crazy. I'd like to use those stained glass again because you can't really see them, unfortunately. But I think it gets the point across. It looks like stained glass, and we'll use these again in the demon base. I think we'll put them somewhere. Hopefully, if not, then can't showcase everything. But yeah, I think it looks good. And yeah, little candelabras, and it's just a couple layers of detail. We can think of more things to add if we want. But I guess another thing to report is just the thinking. So doing a lot of deep thinking about the stages. So yesterday was Monday, and like we did the bridge last week, but it's when we started adding new stages. So we added the graveyard. Changed it into the dark forest, and yeah, we came like I was just thinking about the game designer side of me wants to make sure that every different stage has its own kind of gameplay style. So whether it's like the shape of the spawning or something like that, like each one's slightly different. And I didn't like, for example, so with the Dark Forest, the graveyard was going to be this kind of series of corridors, like a grid. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized I don't think that's really going to work. I don't think that'll necessarily be fun, and also be quite difficult to execute. So it's like, is the juice going to be worth the squeeze? I don't think so. So we kind of just went with Dark Forest, and we added more trees. And then we're looking at Scorched Lands. It's another stage. And the Orc War Camp, which end up just being kind of reskins of the planes. And I thought a lot about it, and it's like, actually, I kind of have to be okay with that. There's this game is a bit immune to level design. The more kind of weird gimmicks and features you put there, it could just be a source of frustration because of how because basically you can't control your units, so you can't control where they go. So if you had like fiery floors and stuff, you can't control whether they're going to go into them. So yeah, just thinking about what works. So obviously plains is just open plains. Ramparts has its own gimmick, and I like that, the way the units spawn in. Bridge is also fun. We just move in a single direction. And then we get to, Orc War Camp is like, that could end up just being a reskin of the plains, and could end up being cut, actually, because it's not crucial to the story. There's never really a reason to go there. But, it's fun to have the variety, and we've kind of got the kits, we've got the colours, we've got it doesn't hurt us to have that just as another option. And of course, maybe with more tents around, it could be a bit different. And then, the Scorched Lands, I'm afraid, just ends up being another kind of reskin of the plains with like different environmental pieces around. But then the Demon Palace is fun because we move up. It's like the bridge, but it's just vertical. So at least it's a bit of difference. It should have a different feeling to it, and I think it's going to be quite fun just to be moving upwards. I thought about all of the different ways that you could make levels slightly more interesting. And of course, given infinite time, we would explore each of these possibilities. We've got like conveyor belts, so just bits of floor that are moving characters along. Again, I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze on that one. It could be fun to try, but I don't actually think it's going to be more fun. I think it could just be frustrating, and of course it's work to do. So while I would like to try it, I have to be kind of realistic with how much time I have. I have to put on my producer hat and walk that line between potentially being lazy and kind of over polishing and over adding things. Like, I always have to question that. Am I just being lazy here, or is this actually like something that we don't need? And yeah, conveyor belts we don't need. Other things you could add, you could have like little fire pits. So I thought about that for the Orc War Camp. If there were just little fires, and if any character walked over them, they could catch fire. But again, one of the things about that is, again, so if you've got allied units and they all walk through that fire, that's going to be really bloody annoying. And if it doesn't affect your units, then that's kind of just, I don't know, a bit silly. So again, could be fun to experiment with, but I think it's not suited to this game. And yeah, even I'm not going to make it just to see if it works. We've got slippery floors, like you could imagine an ice level with icy lakes. Like, one thing is, we don't need that. I don't think it's going to be particularly fun to have, like, I don't know, like knockback has a greater effect on icy parts, and watching units slide around, maybe even having a little reflection of the units below could be a fun visual. But again, I think the juice isn't worth the squeeze there. I have to kind of be a bit brutal and say, well, is that going to improve the gameplay? And kind of have to say, not really. You don't have enough control. If it was like an action game, if it was like Hades or something like that, yeah, that kind of thing could be fun. But for this game, I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze. Uneven terrain, yeah, you could, like, this works well in a game like Total War. Having, just like hills and valleys that mean that it's harder to walk up some spaces, so that kind of ends up being part of your strategy. But I don't think it really works for this game. I don't think it would be fun. Elevators, just really deciding things like, yeah, could it be that you have floors and you go up the floors? And again, I just don't think it works for this game. Wind, like blowing units, like could be a nice visual effect, and then yeah, lightning, snow, or like firestorms or something, like damaging things. I think that could be interesting. One that does stay on the list here is, so yeah, I think they can all just go, like they were considered, and maybe for a sequel or some DLC or something, but I think the juice isn't worth the squeeze there. Interactables that heal, buff, or damage enemies. So yeah, that one I thought was more interesting. It would be a lot of work, so it's kind of like, maybe. So it would just be like dotting the map with little things that if the player goes and uses them, like something happens, like a bomb, or like a fiery barrel, and you can go and activate it and then run away again. And yeah, you could make it that it doesn't damage allied units, but again, it's just like, that's another heap of work that's adding all these interactables, creating those animations, creating those graphics, and does it actually make the game more fun, or will it be kind of annoying? And I kind of had to say no on that one. Could be interesting, like, yeah, you find like a broken wagon, and you go interact with it, and you get like some kind of buff or some kind of heal. One thing I don't like, and this is a personal thing, is in games like, in Deep Rock Galactic it works well, Deep Rock Survivors, is because you have to go around and collect, part of the whole game is collecting stuff and bringing it home, so you're kind of wanting to traverse the entire map with, or as much as you can with the time that you're given. And then you've got Vampire Survivors, which does put stuff on the map, which to me, I just kind of find it annoying, actually, like, because it compels me to go maximize my run by getting all the right stuff in the right order, and I prefer just to have the joy of fighting lots of enemies. Mini bosses, I like that idea, especially with this setup. Like, you could imagine every time you get to one of these moving north, like you trigger a boss to appear, like a mini boss that would just have a bit of XP and would be quite difficult to fight, so you might want to like hold off going there. But again, it's a matter of, is the juice worth the squeeze? Like, is that actually going to be more fun? And how much more work is it going to be? But really, like, does that work for the kind of game we're trying to make? And I definitely think it's something we can explore. But, like, I would put that on the stretch goals. Like, somehow I've got loads more time, or the game's become way, way more popular, and I want to put more time into it. But again, that might be the realm of, like, DLC and stuff, because... Or sequels, or just, I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze on that one. I'm using that phrase a lot, but it's really finding that balance of what does this game actually need. So this game doesn't have the same kind of procedural and like interesting shapes to the level that you might expect from like Megabonk, with like the desert, the forest, and things like that, and like the little boss arenas. What we have instead is a story, and I'd rather spend any time that I would rather spend it on that. So yeah, unfortunately, I think these ones I'm going to put way down on the sort of experimental end game type stuff. Okay, arena. And then we thought there was one more, which was, what if there was an enclosed space? What if there was an arena that actually it wasn't this infinite level or like this very large level, but actually it was just a fairly small space, like 20 by 20 or something within this scale. This is 10 for reference, so it would be like 20 by, it'd be like 4 of these screens basically. And just experimenting with, like a different layout. The challenge there is having where are the enemy hordes going to come from, and I might have to do something clever like have them spawn in a space where we can't go to, and then kind of come in, or maybe like they can all just spawn at once in a door and we just camp them. We'll see. There'll be a bit of doing there, but again, yeah, I think that is the kind of interesting gameplay that makes sense with what we've got. It uses what we have, and so yeah, we are going to move forward with that one. So I have added it to the list here: sand floor, rafters, spectators, and just this idea that maybe the spawn points will be like at the side, so it'll be quite clearly one team is coming from one gate, the other team is coming from the other gate, and it's kind of like just like a smaller space to work with. And I think that will be interesting. So sadly, so we've got 8 stages. Dark Forest would be a good candidate for adding like tombs that you can summon these mini bosses at. So that's why I'm keeping that on the list. But for now, the Dark Forest is just going to be a wider, it's just going to be like the plains, but with more trees and of course a complete reskin. So yeah, actually, I think I did whatever I wanted to do there. Demon Palace stage. Yeah, so we kind of added everything we wanted to add here. Like, obviously, there's further you can go, but that's kind of the deep thoughts I've been having is like, what is level design and what are environments to this game and how important are they? And it's kind of like, there's lots of things we could do. I mean, we could add more here. We could have like some of these floor tiles a bit cracked, although I didn't, like, I thought about that. It wouldn't be too hard to do, but I think we're fine with this setup here, with just some candelabras, and it's fairly like rigid, like it's not randomly generated. We don't need to go much further than this. I mean, you could add like bookshelves and stuff like that, but I guess that really would be in the realm of like, that's not going to change the gameplay. That's not going to change what it is to go through the game. And I guess when I've got a lot more energy, I can go through stages like this and be like, is there more detail we can add to each of these maps? So yeah, just been thinking very deeply about environments and level design in this game, and kind of like leaning towards keep it simple. Not every level has to have a mad gimmick. We don't have to add all these crazy gimmicks. That's kind of later down the line. We should balance the game, at least, around not having these gimmicks, right? So there's not really much dependencies around here of like, okay, well, let's say we did make a boss or like a mini boss spawn out of these whenever you get to them. I would hope that the game is balanced, that doesn't throw the game way out of balance, so we can kind of move on from this, I think. So yeah, had a good think about that, and we're still ideally this week trying to fix the stages, and then maybe getting some of these bugs, or like finishing the stages and getting some of these bugs before next week, when I'm taking a week off about halfway through next week, which is I'm looking forward to that. So that's that. I've been playing Black Myth Wukong, which I've been really enjoying. I'm surprised at how good it is. I thought it would just be kind of like boss slop, like kind of Chinese soul slop, but it's actually got a lot of charm and the combat is actually surprisingly deep. I'm having a good time with it. It's really satisfying doing those see-through mechanics. And yeah, I've been watching what's been happening. I saw that video from Cloud Imperium Games, the Star Citizen, and oh god, that's I can totally see that happening. Just like how disorganized it is and what a mess that game is, to be honest. But maybe they'll surprise us. Maybe they. I mean, I think I know a couple people there, and I think they would earnestly be trying to make a good game, but within the confines of who the CEO is and what the constraints they have are. So yeah, it's dodgy, but quite entertaining. So I can kind of say like this Demon Palace stage is done. So what I was doing just before starting the stream, and I'm going to continue now, is setting up our infinite chunks thing, so we can infinitely like walk these level chunks along, and making it so that it could be horizontal or vertical. And yeah, so we make it not chunk width, but chunk size. And if it's vertical, then we just change all these X's for Z's. And I kind of expect that to work. The only thing we have to figure out is what number goes here. So yeah, for 260 is for the bridge. But I think our width, and I think it's actually just the distance between these two chunks, so that's 320, I think. So they're quite a bit bigger. So I'm going to put that number in, and hopefully that's right, and otherwise I can adjust it. So we'll test that out in good time. But otherwise, my job this morning, making this level, is kind of done. And yeah, lots of deep thinking, lots of kind of designery, producery thoughts. So Demon Palace is done. We move on to Scorched Lands. I'm going to test this out. I guess before I move on, just while it's fresh in my head, save myself a very minor headache later and just head on over to the bridge. And we say this one is horizontal. Just double check that's, yeah, if horizontal, do it by X. If or otherwise, if it's vertical, then do it vertical on the Z depth. I know. Okay, so that's that. Yeah, so I guess we have some like more little assets to draw, and I guess we need to think of like a different grass color as well. So there's quite a few things to consider here. Like it seems like quite a simple one, but maybe it's not so simple. So here we have our grass. And we're going to have a bunch of assets that we're going to put in here. So what would we expect to find in these Scorched Lands? What is the point of this level? Yeah, this does end up being a reskin of the plains. I'm okay with that. We could have some like massive craters in there. I'm a bit worried about units spawning inside them, but I reckon we can solve that quite easily with my little returner thing, and then I can just make a bit of code that like it, because what we see is if a unit spawns in the returner is just an object I have that if a unit spawns in there, it moves them out of it. If a unit ends up in there from knockback or something like that, it's just like a catch, like a little net for anything that happens to escape. And if something does end up in there, like you see it briefly before it teleports. And if we could just make it so that you never see it briefly before it teleports when it's spawning, then that'll make it work. And then have the craters like, yeah, just it should create this kind of sense of the map being like, yeah, maybe that kind of corridor vibe, like I was thinking for the graveyard for the Dark Forest, and just with these big craters that should look quite interesting if we kind of somehow. Actually, I don't know how I'm going to do it. Somehow have like a gap in the floor, or even just like big things blocking you. Yeah, I think the craters should probably work, and they'll look good, and you just can't go in them, so it creates this kind of tighter space. And the cloud should move faster. The skull, yeah, some skulls like sticking out the ground, broken helms. like weapons, the swords from each faction. Maybe not all the weapons, but just the swords, and maybe the trees are on fire. I don't know if that's going to be too wacky, but I guess one of the things is we can use some tree stumps and some dark trees and some normal trees to kind of make it a little bit of a smorgasbord of the other levels. And the color of the grass, so the thing I want to look at is the map, because I guess we've got this kind of yellow to signify that the orcs have kind of ruined this area. Can I just have, let's get something in the map so I can get a nice pivot point. Good. So yeah, like, oh, this hill shouldn't be this color. Just obviously I'm trying to click on that. Okay, yeah, so this one should not be yellow hills, just be hills 0. There we go. So I don't know if we would use that same color, or maybe we use this kind of, this like darker color here just to kind of make it a more epic field, or maybe even like the grass is gone entirely and we're just dealing with like sort of trampled muddy floor, and the idea is that there's been lots of battles here, so it's kind of like hectic. Yeah, so I mean let's have a look. So we're going to do this in our gnarly, not exactly super efficient way, but just the way we've done the floors so far. So if we take sprites, stages, we'll just get our grass texture, which at the moment is just a green block, so we could have just had nothing and used a plane or something, but this is how we did it, because before we had a texture here, and I'm not going to change the way we have this set up. So we'll call this Scorched Grass. And I guess we can kind of use that color. I think that's the same color. So this is, we've got our light green. I think that's our grass color, but this is our sort of slightly off color. And I guess I should experiment seeing it in the map as well. So let's open the map here. Because yeah, we would want it to kind of match. So we go assets, oh no, sprites, map background. Okay. And so we're talking about this area here, where like a whole bunch of battles are going to take place. And that's how the demon tower is going to rise out. At the moment there's just a red human castle, but this whole area, I guess down here, this is where we fight the orcs a second time. It's where we fight the orcs at the bridge. Like this is space is reserved for the orcs versus humans in chapter 1, and then this is all undead fights, and then this is sort of the scorched lands where the demon tower is going to rise out. So if it was kind of covering this whole area, and it may not appear like this until we like hit that point in the story, but I think yes, we can get rid of, turn this off. Just want the background because we can keep the farms on. So we're in layer 1, and we're kind of just, I guess it's like it's just like an open field, which just ended up being quite good for the battle. But I guess it should connect to this. And maybe it could connect. The thing is, we kind of want it to look like it wasn't always like this. Like, this is just because there's been so many battles here. Like, the grass looks different. So I guess it wouldn't be connected. It wouldn't be this, like, shape that fits the map exactly. And let's look at the distance. I mean, one of the things this should hopefully do is kind of give the scene more texture. So let's just pop that in. Sprites map background. Okay, and then what we can do, I think, is actually just remove these hills. How many clicks before I get there? I think one issue is the map icons are like they have a much larger space than they are, so you have to click through all of those. So yeah, we'll just nudge these out of the way. Can I just? Okay, so how big is that? Is that because the texts are massive? So let's go to the mission and let's find the text. And yeah, I think because the text is massive, that's just gonna like make it a pain to grab anything. So we'll just do 0.5 by 0.5. And that should make it easier to click on the thing that we actually want to click on. So here let's try that again. Yeah, worked easily. So we'll just move these hills off. Because I don't expect we would have hills here. Because this really is like an area that you might expect these armies to choose to fight. Because it's kind of like this open space. But yeah, you might get a few trees there, maybe a few tree stumps. I don't know. Let's kind of have a look at it with this context. Yeah, and it's just kind of this different color that marks this territory that's going to be used for battle. And so I guess what I can do here... this probably isn't the most efficient way to work, but just kind of using, like they should be in the same spot, but we kind of just want to chop. We just want to chop this up off. So that stays. And then that can kind of be more of a straight line. Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, that's a bit more like it. We can nudge the demon tower a bit, but that's just a placeholder at the moment. So yeah, that works. And we've got this kind of scorched lands bit, which unfortunately is the exact same color as the off grass. So these tufts of grass end up disappearing there. So let's see about that. Yeah, you see all these tufts of grass. So I need to think about that. I guess, yeah, I would want to grab some tufts and just make them a bit darker. Let's see. Yeah, I think that works. Kind of hacking it for the moment. Just by kind of grabbing it. Like there might even be some invisible ones that I've not grabbed. Oh, I forgot that I can just kind of do a search on tufts just to make sure I don't select anything that's not a grass tuft, but I think this is fine. Okay. Yeah. And so, yeah, we imagine that, like, yeah, this is where a lot of fights are going to be. And yeah, if we're thinking detail later, like, we can sort of make that layer of the like yeah, make this appear only after we've got to that point in the game where we have done these battles there, so it's not scorched before we've scorched it, basically. But this will be fine for now. Okay. So this color is indeed that scorched grass. Stages, scorched lands, scorched grass. Okay. So let's start. I mean, that's what we need to do, is just start working on that. So, oh, what have I done? Move this window out. There we go. So Scorched Lands Grass is... Oh, we need to sort out the sprite. I mean, probably don't actually, but... Okay. So then all of these need to be Scorched Grass, which is almost this. Wait, hold on. Yeah, that did do something. I'm so bad with color, like I don't even notice when the colors drastically change like that. Okay. And so the type of, like, what kind of, I don't know why these are all open. Yeah, what kind of things would we expect to see? So I want to see like the swords and stuff, but actually we can, and it is dodgy without the texture because you kind of can't tell how far away you are from it. But yeah, let's say we added a few tufts of grass. So we'll go to plains. I mean, what it like? Yeah, what do we expect to see here? We can kind of list it out here because we can kind of, rather than me like plonking things in the scene so we can see what it looks like, I should probably just start on the generation. But like, would we see normal trees here? Is there anything else I have to draw? I guess I need to make these prefabs of like swords sticking out of the ground, but it's really awkward because I don't have a sense of like how big the map is. And we would definitely need our kind of Scorched tuft variants and all the variants of the we need all the variants of each like tuft, bush, tree, that kind of thing. And I'm realizing now I probably should have just imported one white grass tuft and then modified the color at Unity's end, but you know, I think I can just carry on as I am. Same with the floor as well. But yeah, these are very tiny little images, so it doesn't make a difference at your end. It's just kind of a bit more clunky for me. But okay, so we go stages, planes, and we get our tuft. And then we save it, and we call this Scorched Tuft. It's not really Scorched, but I just thought that was a fun naming convention. So this color becomes this. And I guess that can, like, the outline is still a good outline. Okay, let's just start getting this in. Scorched Tuft. And then I guess we would want scorched bushes. Scorched bushes. So again, we open plains, bush, save this as scorched bush, stages, scorched land, scorched bush. So this is pretty tedious. Like I said, I probably should have done this by just messing with the like just importing these as in grayscale and then changing the colors at Unity's end, because if they are just kind of the same color, but you know that I might change them. We'll see. And then I guess we can kind of, although to be honest, we don't want the bush to match the color of the ground. We want the tufts to do that, but I don't know why I've been doing that with the bushes. But yeah, I guess we would expect them to be like darker. So what if that's actually even darker than that? And then this color can be here. I mean, let's see how that works. Scorched bush. The fun stuff, I mean, these are just the basics. And then for trees, like we could actually include all of the other trees. But yeah, and I think burning trees is a bad idea, but I think we could have a little bit of a few tree stumps and a few evil trees. Like this is kind of where all the sort of biomes meet, I guess. Yeah, we can say something about so cloud shadows. So yeah, let's make the config here. So it's going to be very similar to the planes. There's some lovely bit of code here. Scorched lands, there we go. So we just need this. Scorched land. So let's say bushes. So we would have scorched. And why not do this while we're here, while we're asking for it. So yeah, so a fair bit of this kind of tedious work. Doesn't exactly inspire creativity, but scorched lands. I suppose that can have a space. And we have scorched bushes. Scorched tufts. We don't have scorched trees, I don't think. And bushes should probably actually just be the same. But the tufts are important. So we might actually just be talking about the tufts. But we can fill these in. So we want, yeah, we can have scorched. We can have, what do we call it? Scorched weapons. Weapons stuck in the ground. Scorched helms. And maybe scorched skulls, and we'll see where we go from there. We'll see how that ends up looking. So it's going to be a more grim world. So then we can go into, yeah, lovely. That's all in the same script now. So yeah, bushes, same. We'll just have we'll half the amount. Make it less kind of verdant. The tufts can be the same. Stones, same. Trees, same, except let's split this up. So this will be for how many are we gonna have? We got stumps or wall camp trees, dark trees, and we'll do, let's say, 200 of each. It's actually a net loss. Going to be more of an open space. And then boulders we can keep. Maybe we'd have more of them. And then cloud shadows. And then I would want to do a thing here. So this is specific to Scorched Lands, where we just go for each. And hopefully these will have all been made. Maybe I do it in this code instead of here, but I want to go for each. Cloud shadows. How does the cloud shadow work? Prefab. I think I'll keep it in planes, cloud shadow, and this has a script on it called Cloud Mover, which has a speed. So yeah, I mean the quickest way to do this would be for me to just kind of grab all of those cloud pieces. But that could be... So maybe it makes sense to put it actually in here. It's a bit spaghettified, but it's not going to hurt anyone. So we instantiate... yeah. Well, we don't need this anymore. But I guess this could still be useful. Bit of code. Just to delete anything that's caught inside of the big craters or anything. Randomize size. Flip half. Bushes. Why do we call this list bushes? Ah! I'm surprised that was ever working. So this is just always going to be yes. If... But then why would that be it? So we're going to have to be a bit more robust with this. So this will randomize everything. But we're going to want... because for the tents, we don't want to randomize them. Again, like I said, we might not even keep the tents, but... so we'd want a bool randomize... and... yeah, randomize transform. Let's be more specific. Randomize transform. And then we say... but we might still flip. So let's go with that. So objList.count is greater than 0. Yeah, I don't think that applies. I think anytime we're generating something, we just want to say... yeah, flip half, randomize size. Oh, we only have a randomized size. Yeah, so we'll say... let's just make a bool randomized size. And then we just say here, if then randomized size. And then we're going to have to go through each of these and decide. Oh yeah, so then we want to make another one, which is where basically if you don't specify, then it assumes that it's false. So objList, amount, and true. So this will be true by default. And then we can just go to the ones where we don't want that to happen. So in this case, the tents, and just say false. Don't randomize the size on that one. So that's that handled. That's nice. And then do we have something specific about the cloud shadows? We don't. But we can ask... so this is a bit of spaghetti, but I'm not too bothered by it, to be honest. If cloud shadow, we will take if first. Let's ask if stage and again, like you would probably, like if you had more sort of features like this, you would probably have something like there would be a thing for what is the cloud speed in this area, but because it's just one exception, I think we can just go ahead with checking if this is the level, and then if it's a cloud shadow. This is just the simplest way to do it. And then so we say scenery prefab, get component cloud mover, is that what it's called? Yeah. Dot speed equals 0. So let's start it at like 1.2. Max speed equals, let's say, 1.6. So they'll be quite a bit faster. Instead of 0.8 to 1.2, the default, it will just change it to make the clouds a bit faster. Because I think that kind of thing does make a difference. Massive craters, we'll worry about that later. We probably won't hit that today. Skulls embedded in ground. So we can actually just work with the sprites we already have, I think. Yeah, we've got all different kinds of tree. But can we detail that a bit more? Maybe there should be... more normal trees and fewer other trees, but it's fun for them to kind of creep in there. And just, yeah, fewer trees in general. More of a wide open space. It's going to look very similar, but you know, it's kind of more about telling the story here. Like, it's okay to have these different maps that are basically functionally the same. It hurts my designer brain, but I think it's not an issue. So yeah, generate trees, cloud shadows, scorched tuft stones, and that's basically going to be it. And the bushes should be the same, but maybe we can have fewer of them. I think I already did that. Bushes 1,500. Oh, I think I meant to make it 750. That would make more sense. Okay. And then so we'll think about our big craters, but I do just kind of want to see the scene. And the other things that we would have, so this would be similar to a bush. So let's get a bush. Just because of the way the shadows work and everything. Let's just paste that here and call this Scorched Weapon. And actually we need to do a few things like this. But yeah, so we've got Scorched Weapon. And I can see this being a sword. Let's go human weapons. What do we call it? Is it just, yeah, human weapons. I thought I was searching for that. So let's just find a sword. Okay. And there's a problem there with the pivot, but bear with me. So let's not worry about the shadow just yet. This is 0, okay. I don't want the root object to be the thing with the sprite renderer on it of the sword. Do we have anything else that's like more? I guess not. Okay. Okay, so if that's 0, we would want this to be kind of sticking out the ground. So that's actually already quite a nice, and yeah, we should remove this and this here. Let's put a plane in here for it, just to see what the floor would look like. 3D object plane. So that's what it's going to look like sticking out the ground. No, the plane. Okay, that's what we're going to be looking. That's what we're going to be working with. And yeah, that's kind of it basically. It's just a sword sticking out the ground. The shadow is going to be a problem because of the way the rotation works on the shadow. So that's going to go like, because the pivot's not at the bottom. What is it we do? If there's something called shadow mover, I just need to remind myself how it works. So it's just basically gets any object tagged with shadow and adds it to a list, and then basically based on time, the amount of time that's passed, we rotate it. So it starts here and it ends up like this. And it's just the rotation. So basically I would need to nest this into an object. So we create an empty, and we call this, and this is what we tag as shadow, not the sprite renderer inside. Like this. But the shadow's still going to be dodgy as hell. Especially with how, like, and because it's going to be embedded into a sprite renderer and not a 3D plane. So this is more temptation, I think, for me to... I mean, could we forego shadows with this? Okay, so this, if this is going to rotate, it's going to like start like this and then move along. Of course, the shadow... And it would need to, like, because it's not all the way in. So one of the ways that we could solve this is actually, instead of drawing a sword, or instead of using the existing sword I have, is to actually just draw new ones to be these swords embedded in the ground. Because, yeah, just funnily enough, you'd think this was a simple thing, but actually the way the shadows work, and just because the pivot's not in the same place. So how can I do? What would be the best way to get around this then? Yeah, I could draw these from scratch basically, or just kind of like re-export these weapons that will be embedded into the ground, and you know, just kind of cut off the bottom and make the shadow come out like that. There's a radical... We could say, hey, will you notice if there's not a shadow on this object? We could... I had thought about changing the way I did shadows altogether by, like, instead of... And we could just kind of give this a quick demo. So if we have a... God, do I have anything? Yeah, ritual. Just to get a circle. I know this one's a circle. And... yeah, so the size would be handled here. Yeah, that's the one. I thought it would be Z, but it's rotated. And then it would just be like a little bit wide. Completely lost sense of rotation. No, let's put this here. Let's just reset this. So yeah, this would be further 45. Let's just bring it up slightly for the purposes of demonstration, so it doesn't mesh with the floor. And yeah, we kind of just want, like, basically it would be reducing all shadows in the game to something like this, where it's actually just like a little oval. And so this would be one. We could just quickly make this. Do we have the floor here in planes? I guess we're keeping it somewhere else. And that basically we turn all shadows into that. That's like one idea. Or like all scenery shadows. It just simplifies this problem. Because it will be a bit weird if there's no shadows on the object. But yeah, because we're using sprites, this is way more complicated than I thought it would be. But yeah, it's just because usually, like with a bush, it's just sprite with the pivot at the bottom, and the shadow is just rotated back. And because the pivot's at the bottom, it's like when it rotates, it looks like that. And it looks like the time's passing. One thing we could do is... yeah, let me think about this. We could make it that this shadow don't move. But then we still have the issue of how it will appear in the scene. So yeah. So if we just said this one's shadow is like this, make it even smaller, just so that there is a shadow. So we'll get rid of that one. Just like a little shadow. Kind of up and behind it. This will not be tagged as shadow, so it won't, that we won't attempt to move it around with the other shadows to simulate passing of time. And also, this isn't actually going to embed into the ground. I need to test this by, I mean, yeah, we can just take, I just want to sprite any sprite renderer. Like, yeah, because of the nature of the sprite renderer not being like a plane, it doesn't do well with things sticking out of it. Like, they can't pass through each other. Unless I make the floor a plane instead of a sprite renderer. Which I think now that I'm using solid color for the ground, I should actually be able to do. But then do I need to do that for all the levels, or would it just be enough to do it for this one? Funny thoughts. So yeah, if we took Scorched Lands and said don't use grass, and it doesn't need to be tiled anymore because like it can just be one solid piece. So we take a 3D object, plane, call it the floor, and this plane should be much bigger. How big exactly? 160? Close enough, I think. Okay, then we can turn these off. We won't delete them just yet. And then this color, actually let's bring them back just for the color. So I have to make a new material, rendering material, call this Scorched and floor. This would be using, well actually we can just get the albedo from there, and then it'll be the exact color, and then we turn all of these off, and this needs to be oh, and then, okay, so we still have to get the color. I think that's... Is that the color? No, I don't think that is. There we go. And then we should have an easier time of like sticking a sword in there. So hopefully everything kind of works the same way otherwise. Invisibale. Has it always been like that? That's interesting. And why is and the one on the right seems to be, is that because the trees aren't quite right? That means it'll probably be the case on other stages as well. That's funny. So all of these need to come in a little bit. Well, we'll I'm going to call that a very minor issue if that's the case. So yeah, invisible wall R is there. And yeah, I probably should just move these trees as a single parent object. Yeah, just a little nudge out. That should do it. Okay. Yeah, that's not ideal, but so much stuff to do. Right. So yeah, we're not doing burning trees. We'll do a few of these prefabs with the weapon in the ground. Yeah. Where'd my sword go? Did I leave it somewhere else? Oh, there it is. It's just like it threw off by the trapdoor. Okay, so this should hopefully work. Let's kind of, before we copy and paste that for different weapons, let's have a look at it. So Scorched Lands, I guess we want to look at scenery and scenery. And so in addition to all of this stuff, we're going to be making, I guess, about 2,000 and then yeah, the helms and the skulls. So I mean, it should be an interesting level visually. I'm not worried about that. It's just, yeah, it's sad to me, but yeah, I need to get over it. It's the fact that a lot of the levels are just reskins of the planes, but it's kind of to be expected. So and especially because this one is actually, the green is quite similar, but it is just kind of like R-rated or just, you know, extreme planes. Okay. So then we need to go into scenes, title screen. And this is where we manage all of our scenery. So yeah, let's get the Scorched Lands OBJ. And we need to fill out these scorched tufts. Scorched tufts. And yeah, the weapons would be, just before I forget, don't randomize the size of the weapons. It's tufts, yeah, so we need to import that. So much kind of like fairly boring like data entry and stuff like this is why I prefer, like, I don't enjoy this part of the project, but it has to be done. Right, so that's that. Lovely. So then back here, now we can, oh, so then we need to make the prefabs. Oh God, so much bloody making things, but yeah, once they're done, they're done. So we want to take tufts, and I think that's all we're taking for now. Put them in Scorched Lands as Scorched tufts. And change the, we don't really need to change the shadow, but Might as well. Good. Okay. So then back here, now that we've got the prefabs, we can fill those in. And yeah, we don't actually have any scorched helms yet. So yeah, this is all stuff that needs doing, regardless of how the level turns out. So let's see if we can go through. So yeah, free play. Might have to create a quicker route to this. I like having 8 levels. I think 8 is a good number for this game. I like games with magic numbers. So yeah, we are doing Scorched Lands. And yeah, once I've done all this, I can kind of just go through each of these levels and decide, okay, what's missing? Scorched Weapon, okay. What did you need that for? Ah, flipping it. Yeah, I guess it wouldn't hurt to flip it. But I guess we need to say if... So now, for cleaner code... to say if and yeah, I guess for the children as well, that could all be there. I could do that separately here, but actually I think with the like if it's not got a sprite renderer, I might just want to reverse the scale. So we'll randomize the size first, and then so we negative in the X. And then and yeah, this doesn't have to be super performant because this only happens right at the beginning and it takes split seconds. People complain about long loading times, which they won't. If they do, then I can work on that. But for now, this is decent code. I'm happy with it. Yeah, so this bot does look a bit weird without the battles there, but yeah, I think it'll be fun. We can add them as we go. Or we could just keep this as a separate shape, or like another layer to put over it that we switch on after a few battles have occurred here. Okay, well, one thing is I'm stuck. So I don't know what's happening there. Is it because I've got a guess. Oh, and that's why I didn't like. I don't actually want things to be able to slip through the bottom, so that's why we don't use planes. The weapons in the ground look fine, and they work when flipped. And I think if we put lots of different weapons, and I like the mishmash of trees. That's fun. But it's not quite working for... So we do need to use a sprite renderer for that. So for the weapons, I think then the best outcome, which is a bit of a pain, I was hoping it would be easier than this, is I'm just going to have to draw weapons sticking out the ground fresh. Yeah, I'm going to have to do that. And so they might not look exactly like the real weapons, because I guess I'm going to have to draw them at an angle. I mean, I guess I could still rotate them, but then, yeah, that's still going to be weird with the shadows. And the cut-off point has to be absolutely flat. So, yeah, I think we'll draw some, like, bespoke weapons to be sticking out the ground. And bespoke kind of, yeah, bits to be sticking out the ground. And we could probably make just a big old list called, like, Scorched. Yeah, weapons, but that, or, like, Scorched stuff, which would include helms, shields, like any kind of random signs that a battle has taken place here. You could have, like, piles of burning corpses, which would be a bit grim. You know, just like a pile of, like, they look like eggs, like, but piles of corpses that are, like, a little bit on fire. I kind of want to avoid fire because I think it's visually noisy and kind of... Although it does work with Scorched, but there's no, like, elemental levels. Scorched. Yeah, so much of this job is thinking. I forget that sometimes. So yeah, we do have to make our bespoke weapon sticking out the ground. So let's use this bush as a template. And let's get, yeah, Scorched Lands, saving a new one called Scorched Weapon. Singular. Let's stick with. I can never. I need to stick with one, and then so this would basically be. So if we can get our weapons, so sprites, weapons. I guess any will do. This sword is fine. And then so in terms of scale, yeah, it's going to be about right. Well, maybe this could be bigger. So this is 96 by 96. And the sword itself is 57. So at 64 we should be alright. And I'm actually going to be wanting to have it stick out the ground at an angle. A consistent angle, but still an angle. So let's get off black. Yep, that's off black. And then I guess this line would be like this. Is that right? Is that straight? Kind of lose some of their sort of edge to, well, yeah, their, like, literally their edge like this, but I guess that will kind of help to make them distinct from weapons that are in the game. Not that anyone's going to make that mistake, but so if we said, yeah, this is a black weapon, and maybe we can actually get away with, like, less detail. Oh God, I can't copy. I wish it would understand them in the same app, and if I get a color from a color palette, then yeah, then it should carry over, and then we'll have, yeah, similar. Yeah, so that would be one of our weapons. So we need to get our... And maybe we would actually have like a bit of the impact of... This would be right on the floor. And yeah, maybe a bit of the impact of the... Like, I guess that would be... kind of wary to put colours on because we'd want it to work in different contexts. But yeah, just like a little bit of a kind of space where clearly the sword's been put into the ground. And then if we did that, so that can then flip. That will flip randomly based on the scenery generation. And if we made a copy of that and just made it like the different sword. So the human sword just would have that color. We're not going to get the different tip, but we can get the color. And get the fact that it's bright white there. I think that's the color we want. Is that like white? Because it probably shouldn't be. Yeah, I think it is. What color is this? That is mega white. So I'm just going to take all of these and just tone them down a tiny bit. Yeah, nothing. You should never. I guess it's like a rule that took me a while to learn, but never ever go full black or full white. Find like an off black or off white color. So I think we can safely do it and export there. I think that's going to mess with the sprite order, but hopefully that'll be okay. Actually, I am just going to get human weapons. So that is 5, 10 columns. So I need to make sure I export this with 10 columns. Yeah. Okay. And then the orc sword. We don't need the demon one, I don't think. So let's go get our orc sword. Our scimitar. And we could add more, but I think just like to demo it for now, I'm just going to stick with this. This looks better than it used to. Machete. No, where's our scimitar? So I mean, I guess it would just have like the different shape to it. So we'll kind of do this from scratch, I guess. No, we'll keep the handle. Something along these lines. Thinner tip. So yeah, we'll just redo all of that. But we'll keep the handle because the handle is exactly the same. Yeah, it's sad that I wasn't just able to use the ones from the scene, but it's fine. Like use the ones that I've already drawn. Is this? Yeah. So it's like a curve, straight, and then curves down, resulting in what looks like a straight line. So straight for a bit, and then down, and then now this looks. that first bit to be the exact same. And the color is the same as this, same as the human sword. Okay, yeah, let's start with that. And it might be fun to add more of these, but since we have to draw them, because I was thinking like, yeah, let's just have like almost all the weapons in the game doing this. But since we have to draw them, it's kind of like, actually, probably just a few is enough. I'd like to add shields and helms and just kind of the things that you kind of think of when you think of an abandoned battlefield. Like, yeah, like a spear. But I think having one of each weapon kind of has this nice like symmetry to it. Done. Nice. Okay. Back to our prefabs. Wait. Has it messed with all my human weapons by doing that export? I should probably do the same with this. So we want to take all of our black and replace it with off black, and all of our white, which seems to already be off white. Okay, why is that messed with the... I thought I counted the same, so we need to go weapons, human weapons, open the sprite sheet. They've all moved down one. I really can't express enough how much I hate the way that Unity interprets these subtle changes. Okay, why is there an extra one? I might have like accidentally duped one. Yeah, I did. I accidentally duped one. That's what happened. Okay, good, good. Easily spotted, easily solved. So it kind of ended up off the pattern. Yeah, so that should be that. Export that, fix that problem quick. Because that will make the game look wacky. Everyone will just have completely the wrong weapons. Okay. Since I changed the color for the orcs, we should probably change that as well, but there's actually no need right now. Okay, yeah, that fits. See, so like if we add another row to the bottom, all of them end up moving down, whereas I'd like for them to stay at the top, and then the new ones, because intuitively you're going to be adding new ones to the bottom, right? But no, you should kind of add them to the top basically, because that's where you're going to be making your new one. Like it's not pleasant. It's not intuitive. I wish it wasn't like that. Okay, so we have Scorched Weapon in... Yeah, Scorched Land, Scorched Weapon. Okay. And so, actually, we kind of just want to delete this and just start fresh with a copy of our bush. Most kind of basic object. Yeah, bye-bye. So here we have our bush. And we'll change this to Scorched Weapon. First we need to... Oh, I did it. Silly me. Right. Scorched Weapon needs to point to Scorched Weapon. And so this is going to be dodgy because basically as the shadow does that, it's going to tip over. But I think in this case, because it is a flatter bottom and it starts like that, I mean, yeah, we're kind of hitting the limit of what we can do with shadows maybe, but I'm going to assume that that's going to look fine. And so we would want, we've kind of already established that this looks decent enough, so we just want Scorched Weapons 1 and 2. And for this one to be pointing to that. And for this one to be pointing to that. And this is going to want to have sort out those references. All right, let's give that a quick look. Just make sure this is all actually working. But yeah, we did Demon Palace today. It's not a bad achievement. I'll be happy if I get stages done this week. So yeah, we can pick free play. Oh, we're still using the plane. Silly me. And I think that's messing with... I think that's what's messing with the movement. Because the plane comes by default with a collider. Yeah, I think that's all we needed to do. Right. Try that again. Oh, thank you. Thanks for joining. Nice franchise. Yeah, the game works. We're just kind of adding... The main thing is we're adding content to it. But yeah, I'd say this map has a nice simplicity to it. I think we could do with fewer boulders. Is that the same amount of boulders that the other ones have? It is. I think we could probably do with fewer of them. Or maybe I'm just feeling that because this particular spot has a lot of boulders. Yeah, I mean, I've been working on this game for a while. The game is there. What we're doing now is we're adding a bunch of stages. Yeah, we do have like a sort of random... We've got five boulders nearby when usually it's not that crowded with boulders. We need to build our alt boulders because we've done the first one. Draw alt boulders. And yeah, I'm quite happy with how the game works. Nice. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's been a long time coming to get to this point, and like the main thing we did at first was just get the game right, get this kind of scenario right, and then we just been kind of adding bits and bobs, and yeah, making more levels. Yeah, the swords in the ground is nice. I think with some helms and some skulls, and just having the odd tree from the dark forest. I feel like we're lacking tree stumps. haven't seen many of them. I haven't seen any of them. Are they around? Oh dear. Oh, never mind. I'm pretty sure they're there. Yeah, I mean, the main one was just getting the enemies and allies to fight each other and getting that optimized, and then just all the problems that come with it, and like having a good array of units and and having 4 different factions, because it was like, I need to draw the enemies. Why don't I just draw the enemies like the humans, and actually make them a playable faction? And yeah, maybe that was a mistake. Maybe I should have just gone with a bit more simple. But I like the fact that you can play as any of the 4 factions, and then those are also the enemies. So every you get 4 enemies, 4 factions you can play as. But yeah, no, it works well. I mean, a lot of that stuff was just handled really early on. We ran into like bugs in performance and stuff, and coming up with all the different things that units can do, like units that stay still, units that and like weapons that do funky things, like resurrecting mechanics and stuff like that. That was a lot of the stuff that went into this game. And now it's kind of just like, we did this map. We've got these bases that you can upgrade with these little dudes that walk around. This is all recent developments. So yeah, you can upgrade your stuff, upgrade the buildings into nicer buildings. Is it C for currency? Yeah. So we can get church level 3 and church level 4. It's like a big cathedral. And then you get access. It's a bit bare bones at the moment, but then you can upgrade your heal, upgrade stuff like that. And there's going to be a bunch of different buildings, and there's one of these for each faction. So that's been taking a while. But yeah, you can see it's fairly straightforward. We need to do a big UI upgrade. And yeah, tooltips need to actually read a better description. And so yeah, like that map of getting the characters all together, fighting each other, and then like upgrading them and having those upgrades make a difference. And yeah, I end up spending a lot more time than I'd like, sort of drawing these little bits for the map. But I'm happy with how this has ended up looking. So that's been the last few weeks, really. Yeah, we can go to the orc base and upgrade the orcs, and there's little characters fighting there. That was probably an unnecessary inclusion, but lots of fun. And yeah, you're going to have one of these for the undead and for the demons as well. Well, yeah, like... yeah, I was thinking a lot about that, actually. But yeah, I mean, a lot of this game is spaghettified. But yeah, a lot of those systems do work. And I was thinking about that, of like, when people... It's kind of like the way I build in Factorio as well. I build, like, instead of planning everything and using a spreadsheet to see, like, what would be the perfect base combination and building these very tight machines, I build it in a way where I don't have to think about that. I build my Factorio maps in a way that, like, whatever the next technology unlocks, I'm kind of ready for it. So everything is kind of open and modular, and it's quite easy to expand the base. And I want to sort of lean harder into this, make games in the same way. So everything's modular in a way that this isn't the most tight code it could possibly be, but it will be optimized at least. And it will be very easy to kind of link these concepts together. Oh god, yeah. I just used the Unity Unity's physics system, but yeah. One of the things I ought to do actually is see if we can save some frames by having the same gameplay, but not with the physics, not with physics movement, but instead of using a collider to stop characters walking through each other, make them use a non-physics method. But I worry that actually is not going to be more performant. I've heard that, like, if you've got 2 colliders and they're not touching each other, that's not really costing the game very much. It's only... And if you've got a script there that's basically doing the same thing, it's basically saying, if my collider overlaps with another, stop moving in that direction. It's not actually like, I don't know, we'll see. I'll look into that. At the moment, the game is fairly well optimized. And it's working nicely. And yeah, I'm really happy with these little bases. Little upward movement. Creates that sort of 3D sense. And yeah, just a slight bit of parallaxing. Based on it being 2.5D. And I think it looks quite nice. I like how this guy's using... Oh, one that's a bit dodgy. His weapon appears behind other characters. Okay. Arena... Oh, yeah, so on base... Arena combatants. This is only going to apply to arena combatants. So I think I just need to jump in and just put those on the same layer as the units. So let me just do that quickly. How do I do that? Is it just arena combatant? No, we don't have that as a prefab. Bases. Huh. Because I think the way this works is I've got, yeah, so if I can go combatant. Yeah, that's what they are. Okay. So arena combatants, don't they have a weapon? Where's their weapon coming from? Okay, animate to transform weapon renderer. Okay. And that should be... the same layer as the units themselves. I think that'll work. So we just go weapon renderer. Let's grab all of these. And what was it? 2. Yeah, 2. Put them all on 2. And that should fix it. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I'm using, in real life, I'm the kind of guy that like would rather hire a plumber than fix my house, or you know. But like in games, it's like I find myself more of that kind of old school characters. Like I hate using plugins. I hate using pre-made code. And every time I've seen a project that uses them, it just looks like a mess, and it's so hard to bug fix. It is actually easier just to build things yourself. And same with like AI. It's like the time it takes for you to write proper prompts for the AI to code your game. You could just code it. I mean, that's what coding is. It's a prompt for a computer. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, the base building is very simple. It is just kind of your, like, sorry to be cynical, but yeah, it's just that your kind of Skinner box mechanic of, like, you're going to do a session, you're going to get some currency for doing the session. I don't fix my own plumbing, that's the thing. I mean, I did recently because I had to. Had some, like, drainage issue out there, but I prefer to like hire people generally, but in my games I'm like everything must be made by me. I'm a purist there. Well, actually not necessarily. It's just I don't know, I hate plugins. The headache of getting a bunch of different plugins, so you say, oh, here's a dialogue system, let's plug that into my game. The headache of figuring out that dialogue system is worse than just making your own one that works for your game. That's definitely true. But yeah, thanks. Yeah, I guess I could show a bit of the game. I guess it's not a bad time to do a little play. Let's see if we can actually play the Demon Palace and see how it works. Although I haven't set up the spawning for that. So yeah, what happens is you do a mission, you get some currency, and then you can spend it in these towns, and you can play as different factions. So I could, like, if they were unlocked, I could pick one of the orc characters, and then we would have those guys, and we choose which unit, which hero we're fighting against. Let's do... I haven't done the bridge in a while. And, oh, that's nice. I used to work in RuneScape, which I guess is the kind of sleazy, very sleazy PC game. Oh, and I'm not spawning any units. Probably because something, the way the units are supposed to spawn in this level. That's fine. We'll figure that out. And yeah, so you just... So the base building doesn't have much depth to it. It's just a few different ways that you can... Like, what do you want to unlock first? Do you want to unlock wizards first? Do you want to unlock... You know, and just having somewhere to go and always having more to unlock. So you're adding more pieces to your army and doing that basically ×4 for each faction. So yeah, and I think it's fun. And the game itself is just like a Vampire Survivors like roguelite, except as well as your weapons and your armor, you're upgrading the units around you that spawn in the same way that you expect enemies to spawn in one of these games, and creates these big kind of chaotic scenes. Yeah, so I guess we've got our first pass here. Broken helms and skulls would be fun. So should we... And I guess we shouldn't expect to use the helm from the game. Goblins don't have helms. I mean, we could do skulls. And I think there would actually be wise to just import or copy paste from some of our character sprites. So we go characters, and we can actually go undead versions. Every character has an undead version, which is quite fun and silly. Lots of work. But I like necromancy, so it was worth the time. Right, so we've got human beings, undead. And I guess we can kind of just have human skulls, goblin skulls, and orc skulls. So if we just take a skull here, and we'll go Scorched. We'll call this Scorched Corpses. So just like a skeleton sitting in the field. And I feel like the size is, yeah, so this should be the same size as that. This is 96 in height, so let's just do, yeah, 96. 72. We'll just use the same size. And then basically, I think if we just rotate this, I guess everyone's probably dying on their backs. We could have one on their back and one on their front, and just kind of delete the bottom half of it. If this is specifically going in the Scorched stance, yeah, we can use this color to sort of suggest that this corpse is in the ground. Is this working? We'll see. We'll try one of these in the scene. I think this is a nice addition to add, and I think it's quite fun, and it's in the art style. And we'll do one of these for because yeah, all the humans have the same skull. But the goblins and the orcs, so let's go sprites, characters, green beans, undead, green beans. And we've got our goblin head. And I guess we should use the battered, damaged version. But not the lit up eyes version. So I guess, yeah, that'll be good. With a similar sort of bottom to it. Can I just copy that? No, I'll just do it again. Does that work? Yeah, I think, yeah, solid line. Corner inclusive. Well, yeah, a lot of them are the same, but yeah, kind of they have different hats, which I think is quite fun. Quite proud of that. So you can kind of, when a unit is revived to become part of the enemy team, it's it actually has the look that it had while it was alive, which I think is really fun. Like, you can kind of tell which unit's been revived. Not always, because some of them are quite like generic, but most of the time you can tell, like, undead wolf. I guess we could have that as well. That's lower effort, that one, but yeah, undead skull, undead orc. But yeah, this is obviously an undead warlock. Undead totem is just blue. This guy's got the same hat he had. I guess, yeah, we can see all the hats. I don't know what not intentionally out of Val's playbook. I'm one of those people. I guess people are gonna hate me for this, but I did not love Half-Life. I haven't actually finished any of those games, and I don't play. Was it Team Fortress? I haven't really played that either. Not my jam. I do have Half-Life Alyx. There's a long story there about my VR headset where, like, it was working fine for Beat Saber, but it wasn't working for but like the left analog stick was like stuck moving forward. And so I was like, hey Amazon, hey Meta, could I just like buy a single controller please, or can you replace it since I still have the warranty? And they said no, but we can issue a full refund if and you send it back to us, or they came pick it up. So they did that. They gave me a full refund, and I could have just bought another one, but I was kind of like, actually I don't really need a new VR. Yeah, it's yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's Beat Saber, but yeah, Half-Life Alyx is good. I played a game, it was like a kind of God of War like, but sort of in Egypt, and that was quite fun. But it was definitely like way longer than it needed to be. It was trying to be like a God of War type game. It's like, look, I don't have the stomach for that much of this, especially if the gameplay's a bit samey. But I really liked, what was it, Till We Die or something like that? It was like a sword fighting one, but it's kind of like a sword fighting rhythm game, and it tells you where to put the sword, and then like you block enough times and you can do a critical hit, and if you do it a wide big swing, as in one that's going to make you more tired, then you do more damage, and that's quite fun. Okay, Scorched Corpse. So yeah, we are in stages. Scorched Land, Scorched Corpse. There we are. And it's just a simple matter of, yeah, they probably didn't need to be that big, but it's fine. Got lots of empty space in that sprite, but I don't think it makes a difference. So we go slice by cell count 2. I don't know why that keeps resetting. Like, it keeps the stats, it keeps my preferences sometimes, but not others. Yeah, I remember that being fun at the time. That wasn't enough for a game for me, though, like the physics systems. But it was good that they, like, what they were trying to do there is build an engine that could be used to make many games. Oh, is the deck not safe? Yeah, I haven't got a deck. I'd like to get a deck. I need to get RAM for this computer, but it's quite expensive at the moment. If the game runs on this, I'd say it's optimized. Okay, so do the same kind of... I wonder if I could have streamlined this process where I can just give it a sprite and it can just make me a prefab based on that sprite. Okay, so we want Scorched Corpse. And this should have Scorched Corpse. And we're going to want 3 versions of this. Okay. Curious to see how the shadow will work on this. We might need to morph it a bit. I don't like Unreal Engine. I wanted to learn it, but I've decided against it. It's like you'll have so much work turning off a bunch of crap to make it performant. Yeah, I mean, I think this game probably will run on a Steam Deck, but I would like to get one to test that out. And also, it wouldn't hurt to have like a nice handheld console. So yeah, maybe I should get a Steam Deck. I'm crap with developing for phones. As in, I couldn't even figure out how to get a game on the App Store. Like, I found it really complicated. Especially the Mac Store. Like, you need all these licenses and stuff. I'll just make it Samsung only. And yeah, I still just found that really difficult, getting a game to run on a phone. Admittedly, I was using a brick myself at the time, so yeah. Okay, broken helms, skulls. I don't know if we need the broken helms, but the skulls will be cool. And the skulls, so we have to say scenery, generate scenery. If we're doing Scorched lands, then make me... So yeah, we probably don't need that many. I think that was probably a bit overkill with the amount. So we could have maybe, yeah, 1,000 of these. And 1,000... corpses. And we need to define that. We need to make that a thing. Oh, yeah, scorched corpses, that'll do. Scorched skulls. Guess we didn't need to change that. Okay. And yeah, don't modify the size. Although the orc one should be 1.5. Oh, hey, Bone Circuit. Thanks for joining. And I also just kind of from a philosophical point of view, I hated the idea that I have to get some kind of license to release an app on the Mac Store, and you have to just go through all this stuff. And I'm like, no, let me just... And I spoke to someone once, and they were like, oh, but they need to know, they need to make sure you're a good dev or not. And I'm like, Steam doesn't have a problem with that. Funny I say that, actually, because I just watched a Bellular video where Steam is, in fact, having a problem with that. So maybe I shouldn't speak too soon. But yeah, the orc one should be bigger. Yeah. Yeah, no, I struggle with all that publishing. Remember, some of the worst nervous breakdowns I've had have just been trying to like publish things on Steam, which is actually pretty easy. It's pretty straightforward, but it's just not intuitive like using Unity or something like that. Okay, so then we need to go into stuff and grab scorched helms. No, scorched. Yeah, scorched corpses. We might not have scorched helms as a thing. And then yeah, here they are. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, no, I don't want to mess with that headache of Mac. I used to have a Mac. I used to be like one of those people who just simply by the fact that, oh, I've got some issues with the stream. No? Just because I had a Mac, that was the one thing I had. I thought, I was like, yeah, they're better. They're not better. Mac is a horrible company. And they make a horrible product. For the price. It's fine, but for the price, it's like, just like, seriously, I'm not, like, it's jewelry. It's jewelry. You buy a Mac because you want to have a Mac because that helps you. Helps you build your identity like a piece of clothing or jewelry. But yeah, I think I'll stick to PC gaming. Hopefully one day I can like pay someone to publish phone apps for me, or maybe they'll pay me to do it and just give me some of the money. But yeah, it's also like touchscreen and performance and stuff. Okay, what did we do? Oh, the skulls look fantastic. I love the way that looks. And the swords in there. And it ends up like the kind of gimmick here, if we're talking like each level has its own kind of gameplay is that there is very little. There's less. There's fewer trees. There's fewer bits of scenery. Yeah, I'm sure I could learn how to do it. It's just the first one, and now especially with like LLMs and stuff, it's like I bet an LLM could like fairly competently tell me how to upload an app. Because before I was just going through forums and it was just like, yeah, just do this, it's easy, and I'm like, that's not even there, that's not a thing. What are you talking about? Like, and I always hate that. It's like, oh yeah, move this over here, and then this should happen, and then you do that, and then that doesn't happen. Oh god. I hate that. Okay. Feels like we're not spawning enough units early on. Enough enemy units. But yeah, I think that the fact that we've got the tree stumps, we've got the corpses and the swords, but we've also got some of the burnt trees. The clouds are moving a bit faster. Yeah, LLMs are great, like, and I'm not even talking about like ChatGPT, but just like Gemini. Like, you put your coding question into Gemini, and it gives a much better answer. And yeah, all the enemies seem to be spawning in the middle of the map now, which is a bug that's a recent development. So I'll need to fix that at some point. But for now, I think like, yeah, while sadly it's not that different from the planes, the sort of basic level, this is kind of what we have. Could we do big old craters in the ground? I'm not even sure how to go about that. I don't want to get stuck on. Well, this run's balked because of this bug where everything spawns in the middle. But yeah, I don't want to get hung up on like what more can I do for this level, for this stage. Like, this game isn't about having different stages doing different things. This is about having different characters doing different things, and different like settings for your missions. So I don't want to get bogged down like prettying this up just for the sake of it. Yeah, I guess the helms could be a nice touch. Yeah, I've never hit the wall of free ChatGPT. I've never been like had to get the paid version. But okay, yeah, so the shadows work there. We could add more details, but again, I kind of don't want to get stuck on details. So we've got our broken helms, we've got our skulls in the ground, massive craters. Yeah, okay, let me just visualize that. Like, again, I have to ask, is the juice worth the squeeze? Because, yeah, we could have these massive craters that would create these kind of natural hallways, but, like, units are just going to, like, spawn in them, and then it's going to have to, like, spit them out. And it could just be annoying. Like, I've got to ask myself, am I cutting things because I'm being a clever producer who's efficient with his time and knows what the game needs and what's like a fluffy extra, or am I just being lazy? So yeah, let me just try and visualize this again. I can always come back to it. But yeah, what if there was like a big old crater here and I couldn't go inside it? Which is kind of how, like, I used to have ponds. I had ponds earlier on, like big ponds that were about that size, and they would pretty effectively like stop anything else from spawning in it, and units couldn't spawn inside. They'd just be like instantly pushed out, and that could make for an interesting level. Like, I did that with ponds. Huh. Yeah, crater DLC. Well, it's just like, Yeah, like so what I've got on my list is kind of like I had a bunch of levels that I know I need to add. At least the Dark Forest, which I've done, the Demon Palace, things like that. Like they needed to be there, and they are there now. There's a few bugs to sort out that came up. Oh yeah, I did this already. So we've made the Scorched Lands. And I feel like if it's sort of... I'm just going to remove that from the list and move on. Okay, stage sprites is like... It's just going to be a screenshot of the stages. Which I can kind of do all stacked when I've got them all done. Yeah, Unity... well, I don't pay for Unity. I think it's like... I'd have to make more than 200k. The number might have changed, and it might be dollars or pounds or whatever. But I'd have to make 200k from a game, and then I have to pay Unity, which I think is a pretty good deal, to be honest. Because if you've made 200k from a game, you can afford a license. Sadly, I haven't made nearly that much from a game yet, but we'll see. Stick around; it could happen. So yeah, now, what have we got? We've got Bridge, Forest, Dark Forest, Demon Palace, Plains, Ramparts, Scorched Lands, War Camp. And they all kind of have enough of their own identity. Let me have a look at War Camp, because this is another one where I'm a bit sad that there's not more to it. It does end up just being like a reskin. Oh yeah, I can't actually see the level generated. But we've almost got 8 levels, and then we can kind of do a polish run after. But the arena, I'm not going to start this now, but if I can make this my goal tomorrow to... yeah, and actually, here's something I can do. That's a fairly straightforward one that just simply needs doing. Is we go to boulders, sprites, stages, planes, boulder, and we just need to draw alt versions. If anyone's a fan of Don't Starve, this is the exact stone from Don't Starve, and I'm really pleased with that reference. But what other variations of boulder could we have? Sort of big, chunky one. That's a bit kind of square. I don't know if I should be using like harsher lines. With like maybe... kind of feel like... I don't want it to look like a sort of squashed willy. Yeah, I think that's a valid shape. And then we just use these exact colors. And then the shine. And it's another opportunity to give the rock some shape. See how that looks. Yeah, I wonder. Let's see. Can always work on them, but I just want 3 variations of rock so it never looks too similar. I guess one of the things as well is like how much do you know? And I think one thing, like I'm nearly 40 now, and I'm kind of acutely aware of time, and I'm like, it would probably take me quite a while to get good at using Unreal. Like I could learn it pretty quickly, but to get good at it, and it's kind of like with the time that I have, I should just kind of stick with the thing that I'm already quite good at. Like I'm fairly good at using Unity. I know a lot of its like tricks and pitfalls and stuff. So I think I'm going to stick with Unity. Okay, should we just do a pair of testicles? That wiggle isn't good. Will that work? I can't beat the heights of the Don't Starve rock. It was genius. This is like looked so natural and kind of nice full shape, whereas I don't know if I'm getting the same results here. Got like triple boulder, double boulder, single boulder, right? Do you think so? Oh, this is Piscal. I find it works quite well. It just kind of creates these, and you can kind of, it like automatically exports things into a sprite sheet, and you can kind of see animation a little bit here as well. I find it works pretty well. It's not perfect, but it's free. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I like definitely creating my own engine is way beyond me. Like way beyond me, I'm afraid. So I'm kind of like if Unity decides to do some like something funky, I'm kind of screwed anyway. It's kind of the same with Steam. Like Steam is going to be great up until I don't know. Like I hope Gabe names a successor. Because that is going to be a shit show. Like if we don't have Gabe running Steam, there's going to be problems. Because I think any other like entrepreneur will kind of would just make bad decisions like other big games companies, big games platforms. Like Steam is keeping the world honest, and I love the meritocratic system and so on. Does this look good? No. Yeah, I do love Steam, and I'll be sad when that goes. Yeah, well, I mean, there's not really much else I can do about it because I don't have the skill to make my own engine. So it's like if Unity suddenly said, by the way, we want half of everything of all your revenue. I mean, I don't think they could legally do that retroactively. But let's say then I've suddenly got a skill set in a system that that I can't use anymore. I don't know, compared, like, because so then, yeah, to avoid that outcome, I would have to, I would have to make my own engine basically, and I'm not going to be able to do that. Like, I'm too into Unity. And yeah, I've never had a problem with Unity. Like everything I've wanted to be able to do, I've always been able to do it. Yeah, like, I couldn't make this. Like, I'm a bit of a Luddite with code. Like, it's only thanks to all of the amazing tutorials and forums out there that I'm able to make a game at all. I'm more of a, I don't know, artistic kind of person. Okay. What did we just do? We just sorted out the boulders. Okay, so we can take that off the list now. Yeah, I guess, yeah. Yeah, because Adobe is one of the best examples I've seen of, like, they carved out their market. They got everyone good at using Adobe and used to using it. And then they just gouged the hell out of the price, which I can't blame them. I'm not saying, like, they're a terrible company or anything, but yeah, it has become, like, no longer viable. It's the same with AI. Like, people think that, like, we're already getting to the point where AI tokens are costing more than they're saving the company. Just wait until they move out of like, this. It's still cheap AI compared to what it's going to be. Yeah. For me, it's just yeah, my only I don't really have any overheads except my time. I don't pay for any subscriptions to anything or anything like that. It's just time. It's my main overhead. Right. So I'm pretty happy with progress today. We have basically done the Scorched Lands. There's further to go with it, but Scorched Lands is done. And we also did the Demon Palace. So I'm going to leave Arena tomorrow because that's going to require a whole different set of thinking. Like, I'm thinking about the circular shape of the arena and how I'm going to do that with my system. Like, am I going to use a cylinder and put my... so I'll use like a cylinder... Yeah, I'll use a cylinder and then render my texture onto that cylinder. And then use that as the bounds of the level. Or should I use a curved sprite and just not let the player go anywhere near it? I'll probably end up using the cylinder, or try and see if I can get away with the square arena. we have an arena here. I mean, it's basically, and this upgrades. And I can't access the upgrades right now. But what I can do is show it. So we can just go in here. Turn off version 1, turn on version 4. So it's going to be quite simple. Wood rafters, probably just going all the way around like a wall. Like, it's not going to look quite like this. We'll have a sandy middle, and then, like, that's going to be the top wall, and then the near wall we won't see. So when I talk about a cylinder, I'm really talking about half a cylinder. Although, yeah, maybe it will come over a bit and you won't be able to see behind right there, so you can kind of... and then, yeah, once I've got that shape and kind of figured out how I'm going to do that, then it should be quite easy just to put spectators in there and then put a bit of decoration around. Oof. Yeah, no, it's too expensive to buy all these things. But, like, again, to be fair, like, they don't really come after you until you've actually already made some money. Especially with, like Unity's setup. Right. So, yeah, we've got these bugs here. And I did actually put spawn boss enemies, but I've decided to get rid of this. That is on the much later list. It's like I have to, as a producer, say, okay, great, that's version 2, which is... in the industry, that's code for we're never doing that. That's a stretch goal, basically, meaning, yeah, stretch goal. Yeah, lovely idea. Really cool. We're not doing that. We don't have time or money. Who do you think you are? And that's my producer head talking to my developer head saying, look, we don't have time for that shit. Okay, so one of the things I can do, and I'll probably do this off stream, is just work through this list a bit. But tomorrow we're going to do the arena, so that should be fun. Yeah. Well, yeah, I wonder, like, so let's say, like, Unity went down or I couldn't use it anymore. I wonder how much of my skill set would be transferable. Yeah, put it on the backlog. What was it? Someone said it's like, yeah, that sounds like a version 2 thing. That's a post, you know. And it was just because that we had this CEO who was like had crazy ideas and thought he was a game designer, but he wasn't. And would keep asking for these crazy things, and it was just like, yeah, version 2, that sounds great. Right, so I've got this list to work through. Yeah, it'd be fun to do the footsteps. Thanks for that suggestion. And then UI glow up. That's either going to be starting next week or when I get back from holiday. So we've got this to work through. A few little bugs, shouldn't be too bad, and the arena. So yeah, do join me tomorrow if you want to see that. Thanks everyone for joining. Really appreciate the support and the chats and everything. Really kind of keeps me honest and keeps me motivated. So thanks so much for joining, and yeah, have a good evening. Cheers.